I just see a poll just came out, the Daily Mail. That was the first one, came out, was done last night right after the verdict, where I'm up 6 points. 6 points from what we already were. We were leading fairly substantially. We're up 6 points in the Daily Mail poll. Now, maybe other polls come out and it says something differently.
This verdict doesn't show that everyone's equal under the law, as many are now arguing. It shows that anybody, even a former president, can be convicted for a relatively trivial offence if the full weight of the establishment is brought to bear against them.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir? Do you think the conviction will have an impact on the campaign? We'd love to hear your thoughts, sir.
Should he be on the ballot, sir?
All right, folks, so now that we are 24 hours removed from the sham Joe Biden-led political hit job in the state of New York, I think it's time now to assess the potential damage or the aftermath or political fallout, if you will, because we have known since the beginning that this is the Democrats' ace card to try to change the outcome of the election, because on every major issue, Donald Trump crushes Joe Biden, and the polls prior to the conviction were showing that. And so the Democrats are hoping, because they can't play fair, because they can't win in a clean fight, they got to make it dirty. By weaponizing the justice system, maybe the label of convicted felon over Donald Trump's head could tip the outcome of the election. Well, today we're going to assess the polls, assess the fundraising data, and try to get a verdict on whether or not the Democrats' dirty little tricks have worked. And to make a long story short, the answer there mostly is no, because there are many polls that came out today that are actually showing Donald Trump maintaining his lead over Joe Biden. There's also one we'll react to here that shows Donald Trump's lead increasing. But on the flip side, and to be fair about this, to give you the whole nuance or objectivity of the conversation, there are some polls showing the opposite there. But you also got to consider the bigger picture. Obviously, the label of convicted felon or what just happened is likely to sink Trump in the polls temporarily. But before we get into it, I just want to preface with this. This next week or so is going to be the worst period in the general election popularity-wise for Donald Trump. Obviously, the news of convicted felon just hit. It is very fresh. And so whatever sink you may see in the polls this week, which we'll react to here today, maybe we'll see later on next week, that's going to be temporary. And so if it just shows that maybe, hey, Donald Trump is staying about the same in the polls, or maybe he went down a few points, but not too many points, then that's easy to recover from. And I'll bet my money that a month or so from now, he likely will recover from it. And so that's something to keep in mind as well, and not lose your cool if you see one negative poll. But the truth is, some of the polls we've been seeing here, folks, are actually not negative. For instance, one poll that came out today from Harris X now has Donald Trump leading 51-49. So that's a 2-point lead over Joe Biden. What is the significance of that? Well, the last poll from Harris X had Biden and Trump tied. So this poll actually showed that Donald Trump went up by 2 points in reaction to the conviction. Now, you'll have to excuse my broken ad blocker here because I keep turning it off, but it's still showing me the screen. But the Daily Mail poll that everyone is talking about today saw Donald Trump get a 6-point increase, a 6-point bump in approval after being found guilty in that sham New York political court. And so these two polls right here are showing the effect that maybe some commentators predicted, which is that Donald Trump will be made into a political martyr out of this. And there are many out there who are making this argument. Take a listen here very briefly.
Look, my view, as I said there, is I think of all the 4 cases that he was facing, this was by far the weakest. I think it was a massive stretch to try and turn it into a felony. And I think because of that, because Bragg is clearly such a partisan guy, that is playing right into Trump's hands to play the martyr, and it will galvanize his base. We saw last night that the funding websites were literally breaking down because people were donating so much money. Could this not have the complete opposite effect that at the moment gleeful Democrats hope, which is that it might propel him back to the White House.
But of course, there's a flip side to that argument, which is that some Americans, the undecided middle, the independents, will look at Donald Trump's convicted felon status and say, yes, daddy government, I trust in the justice system, and I'm a total shill and cuck, and I'm totally naive to what's going on. Not exactly the best and brightest among us, truly, as Americans, but still, there's that flip side argument. A lot of people are pointing here to this poll out of Echelon Insights post-verdict that now has Biden leading Donald Trump 49-47. And so this is by 2 points. And they point out here that they surveyed a previous, sample size here, it was yesterday and then today. So yesterday, the same respondents were 47-47, Biden v. Trump. And then the day after, when they sampled them again, that's now Biden 49 to Trump 47. Now, in fairness, I'd say two things. First of all, the sample size is a little bit on the small side, but more importantly than that, this same poll last month actually had Biden leading Trump by 3 points. And so what does that say? It actually would say Trump caught up to Biden by a point. But regardless, I'm not going to go down that road. Let's just say for a moment that this is overall true. Let's just imagine that, hey, following the conviction, Biden got a 2-point bump in the polls. Well, again, I'm going to point this out. As I said in the beginning of this video, this next week politically, in terms of polls, approval rating, all of that, is likely to be the worst week for Trump between now and November. Over time, he will recover from the bad news of the conviction. So with that in mind, let's take a look at that. If it only gave Biden a overall 2-point increase in the polls in terms of the national vote, that's really not a lot. That's very easy to recover from. It's temporary. And some could make the case in terms of the popular vote that even if it is 2, Trump might still win the election given these circumstances. But we again know that this is going to be the worst week. And so Trump's numbers are likely to recover. So what I would say is if you see the same poll having Trump drop in approval from 5 to 10 or more points than that, then that might be grounds for concern. But if Donald Trump, in the wake of the conviction itself, again, the worst week you could possibly get, he only goes down 1 or 2 points, I'd say we're fine. I'd say we're comfortable that, hey, we took a little bit of damage. Obviously, it's kind of hard politically to get around literally being a convicted felon. But if anyone can do it, obviously it's Donald Trump. And I'd also point out, shout out Red Eagle Politics here. He says, keep in mind that Trump did oversee a minor drop in the polling against Biden by about 2 points after the Georgia RICO indictment. He subsequently surged in the next polling cycle, took the lead nationally, and has not yet relinquished it to date. Okay, so this is, again, in my opinion, a similar situation. Hey, he drops by 2 points. Again, it's bad news objectively for a political candidate, but you bounce right back because he's Teflon Don. No one can stop him. And so, again, I think overall, if this is all the damage we're going to take, we're in a good situation. But even if it might take a little bit to crawl out of this hole, well, I think we're going to have the resources to do it. And why do I say that? Because as you may have heard, following the conviction, once in a single night, Donald Trump raised $35 million after the verdict.
I wish I had $35 million. I wouldn't be here right now. No, I'd still hang out. Anyway.
You would be here. You'd be hanging out with us, Harry. Come on.
I would, but I would share the wealth. I would share the wealth. I want you to know we could split it 3 ways, all right? Look, it's not much of a surprise that a lot of money was raised because the fact is interest in Donald Trump, once the verdict came down, has been through the roof. So these are Google searches for Donald Trump. Look at this. At the time of conviction, up 3,233% from versus the hour before the conviction took place yesterday. You do not need to be a mathematical wizard to know that this number is extremely high. And, throughout this trial, we really have not seen the interest from the American public in this trial. It's been sort of low on the list of most important issues. But when the conviction actually came down yesterday, the interest went through the roof. And I think that's part of the reason why, of course, you saw that mega money being drawn in by the former president.
I personally donated to him. I'm sure a lot of you did as well. And it was mostly small dollar donors that led to, again, in a single night, $35 million. You know, it was so much that the whole website crashed. And so Democrats this week, they can have their victory lap. But now what's happening? Republicans are rallying their energy around Trump. The fundraising money is going to last a lot longer than the buzz or the hit of the negative news might. And so I think, folks, overall, you know, we're in a fine situation. Did it maybe damage Donald Trump a little bit? I'm open to that idea. Again, it's sort of a mixed bag in the polling right now, but, you know, overall, it doesn't seem to be by much, very little effect. And again, what does that indicate? That now that the Democrats threw out their biggest ace card they had, hey, maybe there's an October surprise. Who knows what they're going to try to do next? But for now, it seems that their weaponization of the justice system from an electoral perspective has not been super effective. And so now this is the desperate message that Joe Biden is running with. Check out what he tweeted out today saying, Donald Trump is threatening our democracy. Firstly, he questioned our election system. Then he questioned our judicial system, and now you can stop him. So in other words, folks, the case for Joe Biden 2024 is do not ever question the system. That's in his own words. He's saying, how dare people question the system? Is that exactly popular messaging with Americans? Is any American, left, right, or center, for their own personal reasons, looking at the whole system right now and saying, yeah, it's totally good, no one should be allowed to question it? You're anti-American if you question our system. What an absolutely ridiculous take. But Joe Biden, in a stumbling press conference today, doubled down on that take, and this is the message he's going to be running with to November. Check it out.
The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed. Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself. It was a state case, not a...
First of all, just going to pause right there. That's not true. He was given every opportunity to defend himself when there was literally a gag order placed on him. Yeah. Nice one, Joe Biden. Anyways.
This jury is chosen the same way every jury in America is chosen. It was a process that Donald Trump's attorney was part of. The jury heard 5 weeks of evidence, 5 weeks. And after careful deliberation, the jury reached a unanimous verdict. They found Donald Trump guilty on all 34 felony counts. Now he'll be given the opportunity, as he should, to appeal that decision just like everyone else has that opportunity. That's how the American system of justice works. And it's reckless, it's dangerous, it's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict. Our justice system has endured for nearly 250 years, and it literally is the cornerstone of America, our justice system. The justice system should be respected, and we should never allow anyone to tear it down. It's as simple as that. That's America. That's who we are. And that's who we'll always be, God willing.
Yeah, so this is, of course, coming from the same guy who sponsored the 94 crime bill and then later is now saying that the justice system is rigged against black people and he does not support any type of tough on crime policies. Okay, but yeah, that Joe Biden, of course, how dare you not respect the justice system, even though Joe Biden has basically supported two polarly opposite justice systems in his lifetime. Which one are you supposed to support? No idea. The question for you folks is, do you believe this crap? Do you really have such faith in our institutions in an overwhelmingly Democrat area going against Donald Trump, a case that obviously under normal circumstances should have been moved out of Manhattan for obvious political and, conflict of interest reasons with the judge, everything? Do you really believe that the justice system or the political system or anything can't be fixed or broken in America? Fixed in terms of being rigged, I should say. Because if that's what you believe, if you believe the system is so perfect, everything's going so great in this country, then yes, go ahead, take your vaccine, wear your mask, and vote for Joe Biden again. But if you're an American who maybe has a little bit of questions about it all, I'd say, yeah, rethink that decision.
The truth is that this trial is a total sham, and everybody who has seen it, any legal observers who've looked at it, have known from the beginning. And listen, let's just start at the very beginning. These are charges that have never been brought before by anybody else in American history. They're charges that have absolutely no basis in the law. Forget even getting to the facts, in the law. I mean, what Bragg tried to do here, bootstrapping some state court requirements, state law requirements, and then linking them to federal campaign election donation requirements and reporting requirements, is absurd. It's totally absurd. And the proof of that is nobody's ever been charged with this before. Then you had the star witness for the prosecution, who is a convicted perjurer and who lied again on the stand and admitted that he did. Oh, yeah, that wasn't what I said earlier in my testimony. Brett, we need to be clear about this. You look at Biden's campaign, they are out there celebrating this. They did campaign events at the trial. This is an attempt to use our legal system to hijack our election system. That's like what a third world country does. It's never happened before in this country. We need to be honest about that and say that this is a dangerous moment for America.
I never thought I'd live to see an American president convicted on felony charges. It's an extraordinary moment in modern history. But I always imagined if it did happen, then the case might be about something like a deadly illegal war, an act of treason, or corruption on a grand scale. In the end, it was nothing like that. It was a tawdry overreach designed to humiliate and discredit a political leader involving a payoff to a porn star for an alleged one-night stand 18 years ago.
Ultimately, like I said, I think the true verdict on how the polls and everything's going to shake out, we'll be able to get a better picture at the end of next week. And I'm sure I'll be doing a video then reassessing the newer polls that came out. Hey, maybe you can make the argument this is too soon. The news of the conviction hasn't settled yet in people's heads. And so we'll have to see. But again, folks, for now, it does seem, okay, God bless America and God bless the people in this country, that not a very sizable portion of Americans are actually believing this bull crap. And so I hope that remains. With that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. How do you think this is going to ultimately affect the election? Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, Alpha Moves Only, God bless. Have a very great rest of your day and peace.